It's that time of year again. Lego's Back to Hogwarts promotions are right around the corner, so it's time for me to put out my ranking of all the retiring Harry Potter sets for investing. It's honestly been very hard to rank these sets this year. There are not many standouts. A lot of them are just okay for now and could go south quickly or turn out to be good investments. But we can't forget that a ton of cultural relevance is coming to the Harry Potter theme with a new HBO show coming out in early 2027. It's going to span 7 years. It's going to remake all of the Harry Potter books, and that's going to bring a lot of attention back to these Harry Potter sets. Before I get into my ranking, let me quickly go over all of the promotions Lego will be running over Back to Hogwarts. The dates for that is going to be September 1st through the 7th. The first thing that they will have is the Hogwarts Castle Room of Requirement gift with the purchase, 40770. The threshold to get this is $130. Next is a polybag Quidditch lesson set number 30706. You'll have to spend $40 to get this set. So if you spend over $130, you'll get both of those sets. I also have a source that says there will be 2x insider's points on Harry Potter sets on top of these promotions. So it's a really solid lineup of gift with purchases, reasonable price threshold. I love that this set integrates with the ongoing Hogwarts modular castle. So a lot of people are going to want to come back and buy this set and integrate it into their collection. All right, let's go ahead and jump into these rankings. All of the sets that I'm going to list here are retiring according to the BrickTap retirement list. I will note that Brick Fanatics has 76325 Hedwig at 4 Privet Drive on its retirement list. BrickTap does not. The BrickTap retirement list is much more accurate than Brick Fanatics. I've made 2 videos in past years about the accuracy of these 2 retirement lists, so I will be under the assumption that that set is not retiring. Starting off at number 15 is Mandrake, set number 76433, MSRP of $69.99, released in June of 2024, so I have a 1 year and 7 month shelf life. Before all of the clearances, I thought this set did have some potential, but when it was clearanced in bulk at Costco for dirt cheap pallets and pallets worth, it went really downhill. If you're ever not sure if a set has been clearanced either in-store from Walmart or from Costco, Sam's, or anywhere widely, you can just look at Keepa and check the supply numbers. Let's go ahead and look at that now. If you're not familiar with Keepa, this essentially tracks all of the price movement, seller count, and everything on Amazon. So these are Amazon numbers for supply and demand, so keep that in mind. Let's just go ahead and start with the supply chart here. This is showing the number of sellers. See, it was pretty low last year, and then around Q4 last year, it jumped all the way to around 120 sellers. It's slowly gone down here and there. We're in the 60s with the seller count, still very high. When we go back and check the price chart, we see it was $70 for most of last year, went to 20% off, and then you can see this pink line, which is tracking the buy box. The yellow line is Amazon's price. We can see a lot of sellers were undercutting Amazon. This is going for like $40, $43, very, very significantly discounted because of how cheap everyone got them. When you're seeing third parties just completely take over the buy box for a good 7 months and Amazon doesn't have it, that is definitely a bad sign for oversaturation. And then when we check the demand chart, it's totally fine. If you're just looking at the demand chart, it sold 10,000 over Q4, and it's consistently selling about 1,000 units a month this year. And also keep in mind that that's at 30% off with all these third-party sellers at the buy box in the low 40s. So again, whenever you see big jumps in supply like that, you're probably going to want to stay away from those sets because a lot of people got them in very significant discounts. And so everyone else got in lower than you, and if you can't get in lower than everyone else, you don't want to buy. At number 14 is the Harry Potter Advent Calendar, set number 76456. MSRP of $44.99. It's going to release in September, so it'll have a 4-month shelf life. So while it still hasn't even been released yet and it will have a short shelf life, Advent calendars are just generally not good investments. You'll typically see them deeply clearanced at Costco or Sam's or even online and have a lingering inventory into next year. I will say over the past couple years that Harry Potter, specifically their Advent calendars, have sold out early for the most part and haven't seen many deep discounts, but that is not something that I am looking to invest in. And you can see how down on Mandrake is because I have this set above it. So yeah, unless I'm in a Costco or Sam's and see a bunch of these for 70% off or maybe 80% off, I will definitely be passing. At number 13, I have Hogwarts Express and Hogsmeade Station, set number 76423, MSRP of $129.99, released in June of 2023, so it'll have a 2 year and 7 month shelf life. It will be interesting to see how soon LEGO remakes another Hogwarts Express at this scale. I haven't seen one leaked yet. Maybe we go a year without one and the book nook will kind of carry that for the year. So it seems like you may have an opportunity to sell it within a year if that's the case. kind of like the Millennium Falcon from last year, but this set has been majorly discounted online from Amazon and Walmart. Let's take a look at Keepa. We see up until about Q4 2024, it was around MSRP, near 20% off a few times, but then we see the price dropped all the way down to $69.99. And as we'll see in a moment, that's when the supply absolutely shot through the roof. Continuing on into this year, we see the price has continued to fall. Amazon's had it for $86, $91, $85.59, and a long period at $87.99, and most recently brought it back up to $110. When we go down to the demand chart, we see that before Q4 last year, it wasn't the most ideal demand-wise, 400 sold a month, 600 sold a month, but that was near MSRP, so it's not too bad. And we see when the price dropped down to $69.99, it shot up instantly to 6,000 sold. So I think we could estimate around 6,000 units were sold at that discounted price. And then it peaked at 8,000 sold. Since then into this year, it's been selling in the 300, 400 units a month sold. And when it was discounted $87.99, we jumped up to a peak of 3,000 a month sold. So again, a lot more supply bought at that discounted price. And lastly, the supply chart, look at this absolute peak. It hit around 140 sellers almost instantly over Q4. It dropped back down nicely because it went out of stock for a little bit from Amazon over Q4. So that did help clear out some of the supply, but it's been continually discounted deeply from Amazon and other stores. And now we're sitting at about the mid 60s as far as the number of sellers. So a very high supply set, and it doesn't have the most ideal demand. Moving on to number 12, Hagrid's Hut, An Unexpected Visit, 76428, MSRP of $74.99, released in March of 2024, so I have a 1 year and 10-month shelf life. Recently, we saw a crazy deal for this set online from Walmart. They were priced at $30.50. I was able to get 9 myself. We'll go straight to Keepa with this set because a ton of people got that set at that price, and we'll see that reflected there. Starting off with the demand chart, nothing too crazy here. Before this year, it was only 20% off around Q4, and now it's been 20% off since about April, so no crazy big discounts from Amazon themselves. Going down to the demand chart, it sold 10,000 units over Q4, which is honestly very solid for this price point, and it's selling about 1,000 to 2,000 units a month since then at 20% off. Very solid. But then we go to the supply chart, and due to recent events, we see just an absolute balloon of supply. We were at about 16 sellers and it jumped up to almost 80 right now. It still hasn't peaked yet, it looks like, so it could rise even higher. Now that that set is so saturated at a great discount, I'll need to match or beat that price to buy more in the future. Minifigure wise, it has 5 figures, 4 of them are truly unique, and they only have a bricklink value of $16, which is not great. But before the sale, I was pretty high on the set. It had really good demand numbers and low supply, but we can see how situations can change around sets very quickly, and that's why I like to wait to buy a lot of sets until the end of the year once we have that full supply and demand picture for a lot of these sets. Last note I have here is that I doubt this set will be remade over the next couple years because this is the version that goes along with the new Hogwarts modular line that will be continuing over the next couple years, so you'll probably have a couple years to sell it with no other Hagrid's Huts on the market. Next is Buckbeak set number 76427, MSRP of $59.99, released in June of 2024, so it'll have a 1 year and 7 month shelf life. We've had a long line of buildable animals from Harry Potter that have turned out nicely in retirement. This one doesn't go perfectly with the retired ones because there's not a nameplate. This is just a buildable Buckbeak, so some may not see that in the same sub-theme. But we do have a new buildable Thestral set at $70, so I think there is a little bit of continued collectability there with these buildable figures. Looking at the price chart, we can see it's been 20% off pretty much the whole year, and a lot of the time the buy box has been stolen by a third-party seller, so that's not great. When we go ahead and look at the demand, it only sold 5,000 units over Q4 and it was discounted 20% off for a good portion of it. I would have liked to have seen it at 10,000 units a month for it to have really solid demand. 5,000 units is not great. And we can see demand throughout this year has been around 400 units sold a month at 20% off, which is really not great, definitely well below average for the price point. But on the supply side, we can see there's only 13 sellers at the moment. It's never been more than 17. So this is a relatively low supply set currently. There haven't been major significant discounts. So if it retires like this, it doesn't see significant extended discounts, it could be a nice performer in retirement. So again, this set could do well if the supply stays low, but with that really low demand, I expect there could be some significant discounts later in the year to move that inventory. Moving on to Hogwarts Castle Owlery, set number 76430, MSRP of $44.99, released in March of 2024, so I have a 1 year and 10-month shelf life. This set was a lot higher on my list before the recent clearances, but unfortunately a lot of supply got bought up at significant discounts. On the plus side, it does go with the new Hogwarts modular lineup, but it doesn't directly connect to the castle. It's displayed separately. It has 3 unique combinations of minifigure parts, but none of those parts are actually unique to the set, so the value is only at about $12 on Bricklink. With the price chart, we can see it's been 20% off for quite a long time. Nothing really much to see here. Going down to demand, we see it sold 10,000 units over Q4 at 20% off in this price range. That's very good to see. And then since then, it's been selling 2,000 units a month solid, even 3,000 units around May, April, which is very, very good. And going down to the supply, you can see it was a very low supply set in the first half of this year. Even over Q4, there was a moment where there were no sellers on the set because it went out of stock briefly, and there's very little supply out there. And now recently, you can see there's been a bump up to a peak of about 43 sellers, and that is coming down nicely down to about 37 sellers. So you can see that it definitely isn't nearly as bad of a jump compared to the first couple sets we had. So the amount of people that got their hands on this set and the quantity they got is likely much less. With the supply drip not being too crazy, this set could honestly end up being a lot higher on my list near the end of the year. If there are no more significant discounts, I think the set could perform very well with that strong demand and the continued collectability. At number 9 is Hogwarts Castle Boathouse, set number 76426, MSRP of $39.99, released in March of 2024, so it'll have a 1 year and 10-month shelf life. I have this set higher than the last one because it wasn't widely clearanced, and it actually connects to the new Hogwarts modular line. Looking at the price chart, we can see it's been 20% off most of this year. Nothing too interesting to note there. The demand chart, we can see it sold 7,000 units over Q4. At this price point, I definitely would have liked to see 10,000 units sold at 20% off, so that is not ideal. And then we look at the demand chart. This year, it's been about 700, 600, 800 units sold. Also not ideal. I'd like to see that at least 1,000 units a month. But then you go to the supply, we can see it's been a pretty nice, even, low line here. Currently 19 sellers, ideally it would be a little lower, but it's been steady and it's not crazy oversupplied. It has 5 minifigures, 2 of them are unique, and their total Bricklink value is $18, not too bad there. Overall, unfortunately, this set does have lower demand than the last one, at a lower MSRP even, and I could honestly see it falling below the last set, another one rising up. It just depends on the significant discounts over the next 4 months. Midway through the list, we have Aragog in the Forbidden Forest at number 76434, MSRP of $19.99, released in June of 2024, so it'll have a 1 year and 7-month shelf life. Pretty much everything you need to see about this set is in Keepa. Looking at the price chart, it's been 20% off most of this year. Going down to the demand chart, it sold 10,000 units over Q4, which is great, and it's selling consistently 1,000 units a month at 20% off. And then going down to the supply chart, very low supply, currently at 11 sellers. It's very solid. I'd say this set has a lower chance of being remade over the next 1 to 2, maybe 3 years. It has 2 unique minifigures, but they're only selling for about $6 on Bricklink combined. So there's nothing crazy about this set, but if Target had it for 30% off, then another 30% off around Black Friday, then I'll be all over it. At number 7 is Hogwarts Castle Dueling Club, 76441, MSRP of $24.99, released in this year, January, so it'll only have a 1 year shelf life. Just like the last set, it's best if we jump into Keepa right off the rip. We can see that it's been 20% off only for about the past couple months. It's been discounted $1, then 20% off, then back up to $1 off, then around 18% off or so. So no crazy discounts. We jump down to the demand and we can see that it's been selling about 1,000 units a month. For most of the year, it jumped down to the low of 700 units a month right before it was discounted to 20%. So you can see Amazon lowering the price a bit here as it goes, so it can stay up to that 1,000 units a month sold. But as long as it's only 20% and we're hitting 1,000 units, that's all I want to see. And then going down to the supply, very low supply. Only 10 offers at the moment, and it's never had more than 13. So very solid, simple Keepa charts, similar to the last one. It integrates with the modular Hogwarts. It has 4 figures, 1 of them are unique. Their total value is $15.82, which is pretty good. So all around, this is a very solid set. I'll be looking to get it at a good discount. For number 6, I have Hogwarts Castle Potions Class at number 76431, MSRP of $39.99. Again, another set released in June of 2024, so I have a 1 year and 7 month shelf life. This is another set that integrates well with the modular castle. Let's again jump right into Keepa, and we can see at the price chart here, it's been at MSRP pretty much its whole shelf life up until about May, and then they slowly brought it down to 20%. Going to the demand chart, we can see that at MSRP, it's been selling 1,000 units a month, then 10,000 over Q4, and then since Q4, it's been solid 1,000 units a month. It's never dipped below that. We can see that Amazon has incrementally lowered the price there, so if it was still at MSRP, it likely would have dipped down, but they adjusted their price accordingly, and this is perfect. This is what I want to see. And then rounding it out with the supply chart, currently there are only 11 sellers. It did have a little bit of a peak at 27 sellers in February, but right now it is looking very good. Very similar charts to the last 2 sets, but this one does have a higher MSRP, so the demand is a bit better, and it wasn't at 20% off for nearly as long. Just to note the minifigures, it does have 4. One is truly unique, and their Bricklink value is $13. So again, overall, a very decent set. Entering the top 5, I have Triwizard Tournament, The Arrival, 76440, MSRP of $139.99, released in June of 2024, so I have a 1 year and 7 month shelf life. This one's been highly talked about in the community for investing, but it honestly is pretty fragile. Let's jump into Keepa to show what I'm talking about here. We see from the price chart, Amazon has had it at MSRP its entire shelf life, but there have been sellers consistently undercutting it. That chart alone is okay, not that big of a deal, but let's combine it with the other 2 charts. Looking at demand, it only sold 2,000 units over Q4. Granted, it wasn't discounted, so you have to keep that in mind. But since then, it's been selling 100 units a month at MSRP, which is just not that good. Of course, if it was discounted, it would look better, but I would want at least to see 200, 300, 400 units a month sold here at this price. And then going down to the supply chart here, it really is okay. It's at 16 sellers right now. There's no big spike in sellers because it hasn't seen any significant discounts so far. Right now, if everything stayed the same for the set as it retired, it would probably turn out nicely for investing. But if this set gets a large clearance, it could be toast because of how low the demand is. On the positive side, it does have a solid part out value on Bricklink at $237. It has 5 figures, 4 of them are truly unique and valued at $67 on Bricklink. So again, this set has the potential to be very solid. That's why it's number 5 on my list, but I could see it going south pretty quickly, and I don't think enough people are talking about that low demand. Ollivanders and Madame Malkin's Robes is at number 4, 76439, MSRP of $89.99, released in June of 2024, 1 year, 7 month shelf life. I've gone back and forth on this set throughout the year. To be very clear, this is definitely not Wizards Part 2. Totally different situation. It's not a Target exclusive. We'll take a look at Keepa. We can see that Amazon, just like the last set, has been at MSRP this entire shelf life, but it's been consistently undercut at the buy box by third-party sellers. Going down to the demand chart, it has sold 4,000 units over Q4. That's double what the last set was, but it is a lower MSRP. And then it's been selling 200 units a month, and now most recently 100 units a month at MSRP. And then looking at the supply, it's had a few peaks around 24, and then now it's currently at 15 sellers, which is pretty good. So as you can see from these charts, this set and the last one are kind of similar. Very low demand, but they haven't gone on sale, and have low supply because they haven't gone on sale yet. The set has 6 minifigures, 3 of them are unique, and currently valued at $32 on Bricklink. What put this set higher on the list for me in comparison to the last one is its continued collectability with quality Quidditch supplies, and Ice Cream Parlor, set number 76452. Again, it's a set that can go south fast, but at the moment, it's set up for success. In the top 3, I have Diagon Alley, set number 75978, MSRP of $449.99, released in September of 2020, so it will have a long 5-year, 4-month shelf life. It is a LEGO exclusive, which is a huge plus for it. It displays well with the newly released Hogsmeade Village, set number 76457. It has 17 figures. Brickset says there are like 15 unique figures, but there are actually 5 truly unique figures, and their total value is $127 on Bricklink. Taking a look at the price chart on Keepa, we can see it looks much different from all the other sets because it's a LEGO exclusive and Amazon has never had it in stock. The price has fluctuated a lot, but in most recent history, let's say the last 2 years, it's been at around $550, $100 over MSRP, but most recently it has gone down to MSRP. There's a seller at $450. When I'm analyzing an exclusive set for investing, I want to see it selling well over MSRP on other selling platforms. And so seeing this at MSRP is definitely not ideal, but when you take a look at all the sellers, there are only a couple that are right at MSRP, and then there's large jumps right after that. For the demand chart, it's never sold more than 50 units a month, or else Amazon would have that tracked here with a yellow line. They only been implementing that since the past 2 years or so, so anything before that, we're not sure exactly if it hit that mark or not. I would like to have seen it hit at least 50 units a month over Q4 last year or the year before. Then going down to the supply, we can see that in years past it had pretty high supply for a set of this price, but most recently it's very low in the teens, currently 13 sellers. While this set is high on this list, there are many large sets that I like for investing this year, and we'll probably never get to prioritize this unless there's an additional incentive to buy this set. Number 2 is Hogwarts Icons Collector's Edition, set number 76391, MSRP of $200.99, released in September of 2021, so it'll have a 4-year and 4-month shelf life. Looking at the price chart on Keepa, we can see that Amazon stopped carrying it in Q4 2023. Since then, it's only been third-party sellers. And it's been, for the most part, over MSRP, $340. It was in the 400s over Q4 last year. But currently, again, there is a seller at MSRP right now. But again, it's just 1 or 2 people, and then there's a nice jump past that. Looking at the demand chart, it did sell 50 units to 200 units Q4 2023 and into 2024. But since then, it hasn't hit that mark. And then looking at the supply chart, very few sellers its entire shelf life. Currently, we're at a little bit of a peak at 11 sellers. The price chart for this set is pretty similar to the last one for the past couple years because Amazon's been out of stock. There are 3 minifigures, all of them are unique. I believe they're the last few 20th anniversary figures available. And their total value on Bricklink is $98.05. I expect low supply for the set in retirement and a nice jump in price once it officially sells out from everywhere. My number 1 set for investing from the Harry Potter theme this year is Dobby the House-Elf, set number 76421, MSRP of $34.99, released in June of 2023, so I have a 2-year and 7-month shelf life. Looking at the price chart, it's been 20% off most of its shelf life. Nothing much to see there. Going down to the demand, this is where we see why it's my number 1 set for investing. It has sold 30,000 units over Q4, in not just last Q4, but the past Q4 as well. It has had sustained demand throughout the year. It sells 4,000 units a month. That was last year. And now this year it's selling 3,000 units a month. Not very much of a drop off, a very high demand set across the past 2 years. Then when you take the supply chart, seeing we have about 16 sellers on the listing right now, combine that with very special and strong demand, you have a recipe for a pretty strong investment if everything continues as it looks right now. So yeah, that's why it's my highest. Very strong demand, low supply. I wish there were more in this line of buildable figures with the name plaque to have a little bit of continued collectability there. We have the Thestrals that I mentioned earlier, as well as the Monster Book of Monsters, but neither of those have the name plaque. Regardless, very high on the set for investing. Alrighty, that is my list. Again, I will say that the Harry Potter theme is really up in the air at the moment, and a lot will change over the next couple months that will make a lot of these sets rise or fall. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like below and subscribe to my channel for more LEGO investing content. Also, drop a comment with your thoughts on the retiring Harry Potter sets for this year. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. As always, my videos are not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm only sharing my journey as a LEGO investor, and I encourage you to do your own research before buying any LEGO sets.